Look, it essentially, like I'd been ruminating on this for a while. This idea that Mark Stoops set the tone of the offseason for the fan base with that final comment, leaving signing day. Nobody panic. We're going to have a good football team. For me, at that time, in that moment, that was telling people players are entering the portal. You might get a little freaked out. Just don't. Like, we know this is coming. We know that massive roster overhaul is on the way. We have the ducks in a row. We're going to get a good portal class. We're going to have good personnel. Don't panic when you see Dane Key going to the portal later today, because that's what happened. Dane Key went later that day. I'm not sure if Berrien had been in, but we had always seen like the just basic 3 or 4 go into the portal to that point. 17 more would follow after that. And so for me, I thought that message was clear. Like, hey, we're going to get our portal stuff together and we'll have a good roster in the fall. Because I think that's the biggest, when I put the title was Stoops was right, I think they did that. Does that mean they'll have a good football team? No. Do I think they built a good football team? Yes. Like that's the hard part of it all, because like there's a lot of fans out there who just don't care at all about what that guy has to say anymore. They just want to see winning football. And a lot of it comes down to they want to see him coach better. They want to see his players play harder. He's had good players that didn't play well. So that's the part where this is hard, because I do believe that Stoops proved people wrong who might have panicked when people into the portal, and I think he got a good portal class. But I don't know if that necessarily answers his entire statement at the end that they're going to have a good football team.
Yeah, I go back to that message, and I just wonder how the majority of fans took it. Like, did they take it as, oh, he's talking about the portal, or the roster building, which I think he was, or did they take it as, oh, don't panic because we're coming off this 4-night year, we'll be better next year, because those are two different things. So I think a lot of the Jim Pop fans don't follow it follow it somewhat closely, but not
right.
You're not all the way in. A lot of people probably haven't figured out who's going to start for Kentucky, get quarterback for Kentucky next year.
We had a guy on the board who was begging for Cam Rising. I'm like, dude, they got a quarterback. What are we doing here?
But also, like, for a guy who said he didn't want to make a headline all year, it was kind of an interesting way to end the season.
Well, here's my question: Do you think I don't like doing the grade game, because that's a little just kind of boring and tropey.
Yeah,
but do you think he did a good job in the portal? All things considered, losing 20 players, getting 20 new ones, how would you assess that? Do you think he was right and he got a good football team?
Well, I'll say that to say this. I'm glad he said something there that is going to stick, even if it might blow up in their face. Because it's at least showing it's showing an acknowledgement, I think, of what's going on outside the building, but also showing that, we're back and we're working to, at least they're trying to control some level of the message, at least from my point of view. From the portal aspect, like, I think you got to look at it this, Nick. How many positions are they better at or worse at if you just go through the roster? I think quarterback, they're probably going to be better. Your backup's a year older. Your starting quarterback is more proven than your last one was.
Correct.
Tailback, probably a little better.
Yep.
Receiver, I don't think.
Receiver,
it's kind of a push.
Yeah.
It's kind of a push, but I don't think you'll have anybody as good as Dane, but I think you're probably going to be better 2 through 5.
Yeah.
Tight end. Yeah.
Yep.
Offensive line, I think you're definitely better.
Correct.
Defensive line, it's but but it could have been really bad. Like, you got it to a point where
Yes.
I can see that being a good defensive line. Outside linebacker, I think I like it a little bit better. Off-ball linebacker, a
Yeah.
little worried about.
Right. It's worse.
Like, you lost 2, I think, draft picks.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens there. Corner, you're not going to be as good without Hairston, but Hairston didn't play most of the year last year. And then you bring a lot of guys back. You have to think you're going to be better there. And then safety, you're the same, essentially, to me. So I think you just go down, and as a whole, I think they've gotten better at a lot of positions. And I think the one that really jumps out is offensive line. That is the one position I think where you can say they potentially got a lot better at.
And that was the one thing that fans demanded. That was we have to fix this, but it's also the hardest to fix because of the nature of the supply and demand that happens in the transfer portal with offensive linemen. And I didn't think they would be able to get 4 guys, right? Like you
5, really, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they got 5, but they got 4 starters. And in the past, it was usually like just get 1. All right, you got that 1. Like, that's hard enough. I think the volume of it all was the part that surprised me most from this transfer portal class.
My grade, if you ask me a grade, B to B+. I think they addressed a lot of needs. I think if you had a list of personnel boxes, I think they checked pretty much all of them. Offensive line being the big one. I think the star power, like, did
not
you
having
get like
Ahmad Hardy, right?
Did you add like an all-conference guy? That one I'm a little iffy on. Maybe Josh Braun, maybe. But overall, the volume, I think you did a very good job of checking boxes. I like what you did with the defensive line. Mm-hmm. So a solid B, where I think you've at least added, I think, stability as a football team. Where I don't think, you're going to fall off a cliff now. I think it was possible if you didn't do well, the team could absolutely fall off a cliff next year. Now we'll have to see if they can win some games that are close in the fourth quarter.
We're holding on to a rope, cliffhanger, Sly Stallone style.
Yeah, but even the Calzada edition, which is going to be one of the bigger talking points throughout the season, you do have to be a little realistic in who they could have got, and you have to consider the price tag and how many other needs they had to fill. This was, I think, for where they were shopping, the tier they were shopping in, that was what they needed to do. They got him in the boat pretty quickly. And this is a guy that's going to be 25 years old during the season next year, and he's played a lot of football. You could see him, like, his year at A&M, you could see him doing that again, flirting with, like, 60% completions, 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. You could project that, and that would be an improvement over what they've had.
And compare it to how they approached this in the past, which I think is something that's commendable, and I think it's something that, as often as you compare the end of the Cal era to what Kentucky football fans are going through with Mark Stoops right now, Mark Stoops is at least willing to adjust his strategy. Yes, I know Cal took some transfer portal players. He had to because his high school recruits stunk. His high school recruiting was bad. But Stoops used to be we're gonna overpay for quarterback. I don't know if overpay is the right word, but they were in the market for the high dollar quarterbacks, and they got him. And then they went after power conference players who had potential and had a lot of stars next to their name, and they were great wins in December, but it didn't turn into a lot of wins in the fall. And so they took production over potential. And I don't know if fans are willing to let him have a win, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to say Mark Stoops was right, because I think all things considered, the context of everything, it was a good portal class, and we can tip our cap to him while still saying you still have to prove it to us, right? Like, there's still show us that hard fighting team that we've seen in the past that can win within the margins, that did win at Ole Miss last year, that almost beat Georgia last year, that really just kind of fell off the cliff last year.
Yeah, and again, like, defensively, there's more of just like a standard and establishment. Like, you should I think everyone should have a little bit more faith that they'll probably get to where they need to get to on defense. At least respectably get to a point where they can win football games. The real questions are just on the offense.
Yeah.
They handpicked the starting lineup, essentially.
That's no longer an excuse. One that Stoops alluded to quite often for Bush Hamden, that he was dealt a bad hand. So now you got to pick your players.
They handpicked a starting lineup. So now you got to make it work. Not only that, you've got some gams, old dudes on this team. Calzada be 25. True Edwards turns 24, I believe, in March. Every receiver you got will be in their senior year, where it's senior, redshirt senior, super senior. Jamori Macklin in his 6th year. J.J. Hester in his 6th year. True Edwards in his 7th year. Offensive line, Josh Braun, 6th year. Alex Wolschlager, 6th year. Shizal Pete, 5th year. You gotta make it work. And so you got your pieces. Now, that's a real, offense is a real question here. You have stability, you have continuity, whatever word you want to use for that. You just need to make it work. And it's not, they could be the most improved offense in the country, and they might not be a top 25 unit, right? Right. Like with offensive line, they could be the most improved unit in the SEC, and they might be the 8th best line in the SEC. Like, the offensive line just showing improvement is going to help change a lot of things. And then Calzada giving them better quarterback play on a week-to-week basis could change a lot. And so we'll just have to see how it all plays out. But really, offensively, there's no, again, you don't want to, that seems cliche, no excuses, but that's what it feels like. Like, you got your team now. Now you need to go put out a productive product that gets first downs, scores points.
Scoring points.
Can't 2nd and goal at the 1, you end in the end zone, not scoring. They're settling for a field goal or whatever.